Hi, Chapter 16 is called Off to the Fair. The night before the county fair, everybody went to bed early. Fern and Avery were in bed by 8. Avery lay dreaming that the Ferris wheel had got stuck and that he was in the very top car. Fern lay dreaming that she was feeling sick on the swings. Lurvy was in bed by 8:30. He lay dreaming that he was throwing baseballs at a cloth cat. Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman were in bed by 9. Now Mrs. Zuckerman was dreaming of a deep freeze unit, while Mr. Zuckerman was dreaming of Wilbur. He dreamt that Wilbur had grown until he was 116 feet long, 92 feet high, and had won all the prizes in the fair. He was covered in blue ribbons, even had one on his tail. There you go, that's what he's dreaming of. Down in the barn cellar, the animals too went to sleep early. All that is, except Charlotte. Tomorrow would be fair day. Every creature planned to get up early to see Wilbur off on his great adventure. When morning came, everybody got up at daylight. The day was a hot one. Up the road at the Arable's house, Fern lugged a pail of hot water to her room and had a sponge bath. She put on her prettiest dress because she knew there would be boys at the fair. Mrs. Arable scrubbed the back of Avery's neck and wet his hair, brushing it down until it stuck to the top of his head. Well, all but 6 hairs. Avery put on clean underwear, clean jeans and a clean jersey. Mr. Arable dressed, ate breakfast and then went outside to polish his truck. He had offered to drive everybody to the fair, including Wilbur. Bright and early, Lurvy put clean straw in Wilbur's crate and lifted it into the pig pen. The crate was green with gold letters saying Zuckerman's famous pig. Charlotte had her web looking fine for the occasion. Wilbur ate his breakfast slowly. He tried to look radiant without getting food on his ears. In the kitchen, Mrs. Zuckerman suddenly made an announcement. "Homer, I'm going to give that pig a buttermilk bath. My grandmother used to bathe her pig with buttermilk. I just remembered." "But Wilbur's not dirty." "He's filthy behind the ears," said Mrs. Zuckerman. "Every time Lurvy slops him, the food runs down round the ears. It dries and forms a crust. He's also got a smudge on one side where he lies in the manure." "He's got clean straw, actually," corrected Mr. Zuckerman. "Well, he's dirty, and he's going to have a bath." Mr. Zuckerman sat down weakly and ate a donut. His wife went to the woodshed. When she returned, she wore rubber boots and an old raincoat, and she carried a bucket of buttermilk and a small wooden paddle. "You're crazy," mumbled Mr. Zuckerman, but Edith took no notice. Together they walked to the pig pen. Mrs. Zuckerman wasted no time. She climbed in with Wilbur and went to work. Dipping her paddle in the buttermilk, she rubbed him all over. The geese gathered round to see the fun, and so did the sheep and the lambs. Even Templeton poked his head out cautiously to watch Wilbur get a buttermilk bath. Charlotte got so interested she lowered herself on a dragline to see better. Wilbur stood still and closed his eyes. He could feel the buttermilk trickling down his side. He opened his mouth and some buttermilk ran in. It really was delicious. When Mrs. Zuckerman got through and rubbed him dry, he was the cleanest, prettiest pig you ever did see. He was pure white, pink around the ears and snout, and smooth as silk. There he is. The Zuckermans went up to change into their best clothes. Lurvy went to shave and put on his plaid shirt and a pink necktie. The animals were left to themselves in the barn. The 7 goslings paraded around their mother, begging to go to the fair. "Please take us," they began teasing. "Please, please, please, please." They made quite a racket. "Children," snapped the goose, "we're staying quietly at home. Only Wilbur is going to the fair." Just then Charlotte interrupted. "I shall go too," she said softly. "I have decided to go with Wilbur as he may need me. Someone's got to go who knows how to write. And I think Templeton should go too, as I may need somebody to run errands and do general work." "I'm staying right here," grumbled the rat. I haven't the slightest interest in fairs." "Well, that's because you've never been to one," remarked the old sheep. "A fair is a rat's paradise because of the spilt food. You could creep out at night and have a feast. You'll find oats. You'll find discarded lunch boxes with peanut butter sandwiches, bits of donut, particles of cheese. You'll find veritable treasures of popcorn fragments, custard dribblings, popsicles, ice cream cones. Everywhere is loot for a rat. In tents, in booths, in haylofts. Why, the fair's got enough disgusting leftover food to satisfy a whole army of rats." And at this, Templeton's eyes were blazing. "Is this true?" "It is true," said the old sheep. "Go to the fair. You will find the conditions at a fair will surpass your wildest dreams. Buckets of sour mash, tin cans with particles of tuna." "That's enough," cried Templeton. "You have tempted me. I'm going." "Good," winked Charlotte at the old sheep. "There's no time to lose. Wilbur's going in the crate soon. Templeton must get in first." The rat didn't waste a minute. He scampered over to the crate, crawled between the slats, and pulled up the straw so he was hidden from sight. "All right," said Charlotte. "I'm next." She sailed into the air, let out a drag line, and dropped gently to the ground. Then she climbed the side of the crate and hid herself inside a knot-hole on the top board. The old sheep nodded. "What a cargo," she said. "That sign really ought to read Zuckerman's Famous Pig and 2 stowaways." "Look out, the people are coming, warned the gander. The big truck with Mr. Arable at the wheel backed down towards the barnyard. Lurvy and Zuckerman walked alongside, while Fern and Avery were in the body of the truck. "Listen to me," whispered the old sheep. "When they open the crate and try to put you in, you must struggle, because pigs always resist when they're being loaded." "But I'll get dirty." "Never mind that. You must do as I say. If you were to walk right into the crate without resisting, Zuckerman might think you were bewitched and not take you to the fair." Templeton poked his head up. "Struggle if you must, but kindly remember that I'm hiding down here, and I don't want to be stepped on or crushed." "Be quiet, Templeton," said the sheep. "Pull in your head. They're coming. Now look radiant, Wilbur." The truck backed slowly up to the pig pen and stopped. Mr. Arable cut the motor, lowered the tailgate, and the geese cheered. Mrs. Arable got out of the truck, and so did Fern and Avery. Mrs. Zuckerman came walking down from the house. Everybody lined up at the fence and stood for a moment admiring Wilbur and the beautiful green crate. Nobody realised that the crate already contained a rat and a spider. "That's some pig. He's terrific. He's very radiant." "Well, he's very clean," said Mrs. Zuckerman. "The buttermilk definitely helped." Mr. Arable studied Wilbur carefully. "He's a wonderful pig. It's hard to believe he was the runt of the litter. You'll get some extra good ham and bacon, Homer, when it comes time to kill that pig." Wilbur heard these words, and his heart almost stopped. "I think I'm going to faint." "Then kneel down," whispered the sheep. "Let the blood rush to your head." Wilbur sank to his knees, all radiance gone. "Look!" screamed Fern. "Watch me!" yelled Avery, crawling on all fours into the crate. "I'm going to be a pig! I'm a pig!" Avery's foot touched Templeton under the straw. "What a mess," thought the rat. "What fantastic creatures boys are! Why did I let myself in for this?" The geese saw Avery in the crate, and they began to cheer. "Avery, get out of this crate this instant," said his mother. "What do you think I am?" "I'm a pig," cried Avery, tossing handfuls of straw into the air. "Oink, oink, oink." "The truck is rolling away, Papa," said Fern, and the truck, with nobody at the wheel, had started to roll downhill. Mr. Arable dashed to the driver's seat and pulled on the emergency brake. The truck stopped, and the geese cheered again. Charlotte crouched and made herself as small as possible so that Avery wouldn't see her. "Get out at once!" cried Mrs. Arable. Avery crawled out of the crate on hands and knees, making faces at Wilbur. Wilbur fainted away. "That pig's passed out," said Mrs. Zuckerman. "Pour some water on him." "What about buttermilk?" suggested Avery. Lurvy ran for a pail of water. Fern climbed into the crate and knelt by Wilbur's side. "It's sunstroke. The heat must be too much for him," said Zuckerman. "Maybe he's dead," said Avery. "Come out of that pig pen immediately," cried Mrs. Arable. Avery obeyed his mother and climbed into the back of the truck so he could have a better view. Lurvy returned with cold water and dashed it on Wilbur. "Oh, throw some on me," cried Avery. "I'm hot too." There we go. There he is having his dousing of water. "Oh, keep quiet," hollered Fern. "Keep quiet," and her eyes were brimming with tears. Wilbur, feeling the cold water, came too. He rose slowly to his feet while the geese cheered. "He's up," said Mr. Arable. "I guess there's nothing wrong with him." "I'm hungry," said Avery. "I want a candied apple." "Wilbur's all right now," said Fern. "We can start. I'm looking forward to a ride on the Ferris wheel." Mr. Zuckerman and Mr. Arable and Lurvy grabbed the pig and pushed him headfirst into the crate. Wilbur began to struggle. The harder the men pushed, the harder he held back. Avery jumped down and joined the men. Wilbur kicked and thrashed and grunted. "Nothing wrong with this pig," said Mr. Zuckerman cheerfully, pressing his knee against Wilbur's behind. "All together, boys, now. Shove." With a final heave, they jammed him into the crate. The geese cheered. Lurvy nailed some boards across the end so Wilbur couldn't back out. Then, using all their strength, the men picked up the crate and heaved it aboard the truck. They did not know that under the straw was a rat, and inside the knothole was a big grey spider. They only saw a pig. "Everybody in," called Mr. Arable as he started the motor. The ladies climbed in beside him. Mr. Zuckerman, Lurvy, Fern and Avery rode into the back. The truck began moving ahead. The geese cheered, the children answered their cheer, and away they went to the fair. Chapter 17 is called Uncle. We'll do that one another day. Bye for now.